Power Hour brought to you by Power Interfaith, but the opinions belong to us. And by us, I mean sitting across from me, Bishop Dwayne David Royster.
Good morning, and sitting across from me is the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler.
And all right, there we go. Facebook Live is fired up. We're going to lay hands on it right now. Touch. Hold it, Lord, for the next 54 to 55 minutes. Thank you.
There you go.
And the glue hold it together, like literally, she's got like some tape and some paper clips and all that on this Facebook Live connection is Kawesa.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. How are you today?
Can't complain. It's Wednesday, so halfway there.
All right.
Well, I hope you brought your air mattress to the station today.
I know. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, see, people don't think about folk like Kawesa on a day like today. I mean, like literally. Leslie used to work in TV as a assistant news director. In fact, that's what brought us to the area. For folk who are curious, how did we get to Philly? She got an offer to work for Channel 29. And on snow days, she'd be like, see you tomorrow. They'd move into the hotels downtown because everybody had to be close because it's 24-hour stuff when it comes to news and weather. So we got that kind of snowstorm. So you all pray for Kawesa for tonight. Let us know, Kawesa. I'll send you some snacks.
I'll look out for them.
It has been 1,000 days since Philadelphia has had a major snowstorm. 1,000.
Longer for me.
Longer for you?
Yeah, because I was preaching in the Miami area, as in Florida.
Yeah.
Back in whenever that last snowstorm hit.
Okay. So
and I really wanted to be here. Yeah, right. So I was always supposed to preach like that Friday or something. So when the snowstorm hit, I literally could not get back home. And so a friend of mine said, oh, man, you can preach for me Sunday if you're going to be here. So I was there like, man, 3, 4, 5 days.
3, 4, 5 days in Miami. Man, that must have been really hard. It must have been really devastating.
Well, I felt bad. I mean, wife and kids were here alone. They had to like deal with the snow and couldn't get out and get moving. I wanted to be here to binge watch, but I was stuck in Miami. So it's been longer for me. I don't really remember what a big snowstorm has been like. Because like you said, it's been over 3 years since I've experienced one of the ones that's coming today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, hey, listen, folks, we got a lot to cover on today. Glad to see the people who are watching with us on Facebook Live and sharing with us. Do as I do, not just as I say. I'm going to do this right now. Hit the share button and see, just that fast. I just hit it and boom, it's been shared on my timeline. Share that with others so we can bring other folk into this conversation this morning. So, oh boy, speaking of snow days, Dr. Height and our superintendent of schools in Philadelphia, looks like de Blasio, mayor of New York, is saying the same thing, and others. They're saying there's going to be no snow day for the kids because it's virtual learning and no one has to go anywhere. So tough, kids. You get no snow day.
I mean, well, we knew once that everything went virtual, there were going to be no snow days.
Yeah, that's kind of, I mean, you grew up in the snow. I did not. So talk about what does that mean to deprive children of a snow day, even if it's virtual, the fact that they now have to stay in class until 2 or 3 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, snow days were fantastic. And when I was younger, we used to get them frequently because, 4, 5, 6 inches of snow would shut down Philadelphia for a few days. And, that meant we went over to St. Therese Church, which is now Dare to Imagine Church, and used to sled down their front lawn. We went out and made snowmen and angels in the ground. My mother made chicken noodle soup, and we had grilled cheese sandwiches for lunch. We always came in soaking wet from the snow, and, just our little snowsuits were all wet. I don't know how we managed to get the snow in our boots. It was just, a cool day. Everybody went out. And when I was a little older, that meant money because we used to go and shovel people out, shovel their houses out and things like that and get a few dollars here or there. Matter of fact, I was just talking to my brother about this last night because he's not feeling too hot. And I was like, are there any kids in the neighborhood that will come shovel? And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, these kids don't do work anymore. So they don't know what that means. I'm sure out in Cali, y'all were cutting lawns and stuff like that. And we did that during the summer. But wintertime, snowstorms you could make 25, $30 in a day, which was good money back then. And all you had to do was have a shovel and some salt.
Wow. Well, they're going to get none of that on tomorrow. So tomorrow the kids will be in their little virtual rooms looking at the snow. That's like terrible, man. I don't know. I think we would give our daughter a break. I think the kids need that. And so, yeah. So, hey, Kenrick wants to know, how can I be a Raider fan? Because Kenrick is a former Baltimore Colt fan. Apparently doesn't root for the Colts anymore.
Oh,
So
wow.
because the Raiders have left the city twice. See, this is my feeling right here. First of all, you can't, if your loyalty to a team is about where they play, then you may as well, no team is loyal anymore. I mean, it's not you think that the Cowboys would never leave Dallas if Jerry Jones didn't get a better deal somewhere and felt he was somehow wronged? You can't get caught up on that stuff, man. The Raiders, that's my team. I don't have any need for the Davis family. Those are two different issues. I love the Raiders, can do without the Davis family. Period. That's how I do it. So I support the Raiders. So I can't get caught up on where they're playing. I mean, heck, knowing the Raiders with their history, they'll be back in Oakland again like 10, 15 years. It's just what they do. They leave and they come back. We break up. Then we make up. That's all we do. But we have bigger fish to fry than that. Do you remember an episode of The Sopranos? Are you a Sopranos fan?
No.
Oh, man. Bro, you got to work with me, man. Seriously. Okay, sports, I get. Give me something, okay?
Game of Thrones, brother. Game of Thrones. We can talk Game of Thrones.
All right. So The Sopranos had an episode that was called Unidentified Black Males. And in that episode, there was a hit made. And whenever anybody asked about it, so obviously it was a mob-related hit, right? So it was the mob hit somebody in the mob. But whenever they were asked about it by their family, what happened to this person who everybody loved, they said, oh, he got jacked by a couple of black guys, a couple of crackheads in the projects. A couple of unidentified black males, right? Now, here's why that's important. Yesterday, I believe, Sean McCown in upstate New York, a former police officer, he's now been charged with some misdemeanor stuff, but he resigned and retired about a year ago.
Okay.
So he went out drinking with his friends, came home, feeling a little bit too good. Man takes his service revolver out and shoots up a tree.
Wow.
Realizes, damn, I got to account for that bullet. Right?
Oh, wow.
Ditches the gun and says he got into an altercation and a gunfight with some unidentified black teenagers.
That's not surprising. That's not surprising. Dude. So, you've heard my Boston story, right? About
No.
So some years ago, this is back in the 80s, there was a woman that was killed on a bridge between Cambridge and Boston. And it was a whole story. Her husband said the black guy did it, 5'9", dark skin, the whole 9 yards. For about 5 days, they were just stopping black people, period, all across Boston, Cambridge, everything. I got stopped 5 times.
Wow.
Now, I'm 6'4". I was 6'4" at the time, getting old now. But, light skin, and I was big. This guy weighed 150 pounds, right? I haven't weighed...
It was dark skin.
200, you're right.
And he was dark skinned.
And dark skinned. I had weighed under 250 pounds in since that time frame. And anyway, they were stopping everybody. And they had all these alerts out. They had these pictures out that they put of this black dude that was, had killed this woman, whole 9 yards. Turns out the husband did it.
Mm.
right? But for 5 days, black folk in Boston were just getting terrorized by the police department and, just getting
Wow.
stopped by everybody. And it was absolutely ridiculous. So,
Yeah.
when you say that, I'm like, yeah, I live that reality.
Right. So this guy, right. So he's playing on this racial trope then
That's
that,
right.
as you said, happened in Boston, and it's the instant fallback. So white folk who get in trouble know quickly when you can't explain it in that moment of panic. It's what do I do? Some black people did it.
Hmm.
Why do you say it? Right. You say it because it's believable.
That's right.
So this cop, who now is no longer a cop, but got to keep his retirement benefits,
Hmm.
and I doubt that these new misdemeanor charges are going to make him lose them, which is pretty awful.
Yep.
And so, but again, he played on the same thing that, again, that the Sopranos played up on that episode, the same thing that happened to the Scottsboro boys in Alabama in the 1930s, same thing that happened to Emmett Till in the 1950s in Mississippi, the same thing that happened with Susan Smith. You remember her in 1994? It seems like that was yesterday.
That name sounds really familiar. I'm trying to
The
remember the story.
the white lady who killed her own sons
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
and drove their vehicle, drowned them.
That's right.
Horrific story, and said she was carjacked by who?
Black
An unidentified black man.
Hmm.
Now, what does any of that have to do? I mean, in spite of the fact that it's newsworthy in and of itself, but what does that have to do with anything that we're talking about today? Again, it goes back to this stop the steal move by Donald Trump and his people, right? So, of course, they're angry with Republicans like Mitch McConnell and others who are now coming out openly acknowledging a Biden win. But most of their anger is still reserved at these unidentified black voters.
That's right. That's right.
Who stole an election with these fraudulent votes. So much so that in Texas, there is a former police captain. Can you believe this? All the way to the rank of captain. Former police captain in Texas, in Houston, who was hired as a part of a group to stop the steal back in October. So he's going through charges now. This guy staked out a man for 4 days who he believed was holding 750,000 stolen and illegal ballots, right? That were going to put Biden, that were for Biden and not for Trump.
Hmm.
He follows the guy in the guy's driving a service truck or service van. He thinks that these illegal votes are. I want to remind you, this is a former captain in the Houston Police Department, and I believe even worked in the FBI at one point. Runs into the guy and hits his car to make him pull over. Guy gets out like, hey, dude, what the hell? My man pulls a gun, puts it to his head.
Whoa. Whoa.
Puts him on the ground, knee to the back. And had the cops not showed up, who knows what would have happened. And turns out, instead of stolen ballots in the back of the van, there were air conditioning parts, because after all, that's what an air conditioning repairman carries in his truck.
Oh, wow.
But
Wow.
this guy, this former captain, loses his mind, thinks he's in a spy novel, right? Because, again, Houston is a pretty black city.
Yes.
And it's also one of the cities that they were very angry with because the person over elections is black and allowed for drive-through voting.
Hmm.
And so, of course, black people were stealing and cheating with this fraudulent drive-through. I mean, man, listen, we could do this same show every day and it wouldn't get old.
Wow.
But this is America. And some say spelled with KKK.
Yes, that is absolutely tragic. And actually, that whole thing that happened down in Texas was really the governor and the secretary of state down there really jammed people up in Texas because they only allowed one early voting site per county.
Yep.
And Houston is it's like 3.5 million people or something like that. And so for 3.5 million people, there was one early voting site. We had backed up voting sites here in Philadelphia, the city 1.6 million, and we had almost
17. 17.
Yeah, 17 voting sites, and we had voting sites that were backed up where there was 45 minutes to an hour or more a line to get in to vote. So can you imagine what it's like having one site in the state that in the county that has 3 million people in it that you can go vote early?
Right. I mean, but again, listen. I mean, so when you believe this is the Proud Boys marching. That's why they tore those banners off of those black churches in D.C. over the weekend that said Black Lives Matter, because that just infuriated them, right? Because again, black people cheat, black people steal, black people want to take all of your stuff, right? And so it's very easy to believe this when in fact, my friend, nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, of course you have black people who steal like you have white people who steal. You have black people who cheat like white people who cheat. That's the nature of humanity. But we don't do it at any greater rate or any lesser rate than anybody else, right? So
no,
anyway.
actually, they say that crime is committed equally, the percentage-wise, by each community, but the conviction of crime is totally different when it comes to communities.
Well, now that's a show of a different color, right? Now you're talking crack versus powder. And again, that's a whole different show. But yeah, absolutely right. I mean, so when we were growing up, I tell you all the time, I went to a private school, but I came from a black neighborhood. So I always kept that Bishop O'Dowd, school ID with me a year or so after graduation.
Right.
And, I remember back in the day, so cops would roll up on a keg party at a white friend's house. It's a kegger, and they just tell you turn the music down. Tons of underage drinking going on. If you were black and you were drinking, back then we didn't have 40s. This is I'm right before the 40 era. You had a tall can of Old English. So if you had the tall can in a brown paper bag, you go to jail for that. Public drinking.
That's right.
So in the flatlands of Oakland, you go to jail for a tall can. Up in the Oakland Hills, they tell you turn the music down because the neighbors up the hill are complaining, and you got a kegger with a ton of like 16 and 17-year-olds drinking. So yeah, same crime. One gets not even a slap on the hand, the other goes to jail. So yes, we commit crimes at the same rates. How it's treated has always been different.
Absolutely.
Hence, unidentified black males. We got to take a quick break, and we come back, continue this conversation. And look, we got to talk about Mackenzie Scott dropping $4.2 billion yesterday. She hooked up a ton of HBCUs. And can we talk about the Guinness Book and their quote unquote biggest afro that they've ever seen? I think it's a farce. Fake news. We'll be right back.
Hey, WURD family. Our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious bread in our community for over 100 years, and they want you to join their team today. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they are hiring right now. Check it out. They offer fair pay and provide health, dental, and prescription plans after 90 days employment. Call 856-754-0355 or visit amorososbaking.com for details.
Livelihood, the new initiative from WURD Radio, connecting Philadelphians to jobs, entrepreneurship opportunities, small business resources, and financial literacy. Visit WURDworks.com right now and take the next step in your professional journey. Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network. The onWURD Podcast. We'll be trying to make sense of 2020 for a very long time. And to start, WURD Radio has launched a special 4-part podcast series, onWURD 2020 in Black. Join WURD President and CEO Sarah Lomax-Reese and your favorite WURD hosts as they reflect on the big issues from 2020. From the pandemic to the global protests for racial justice to the 2020 election, and how you heard it all here on WURD, one of the only independent black-owned talk radio stations in the country. Check out the latest podcast, onWURD 2020 in Black, available on your favorite podcast app, or visit wordradio.com/2020 in Black. You can also ask your favorite device to play onWURD 2020 in Black.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities. but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour with Mark Kelly Tyler and Dwayne David Royster. We are here Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news happenings around Philadelphia and, of course, our opinion. Hey, I just wanted to note this one thing because I was thinking about you and all the work that you've been doing down in Georgia as well. And I'm trying to find the article, but yesterday, Georgia hit all-time early voting records in 2 counties. Yesterday, folk have turned out to vote like crazy. And I got to tell you, the pictures, and this was a white media outlet, were all the black people out voting. So they hit brand new records, and it was absolutely incredible. So just wanted to shout out you and New Georgia Project and all the folk down there that are working to get the folk out to vote and to make sure that they are getting engaged in a big way this electoral season.
Brother, when I tell you, I keep telling you now, and I'm on phone calls almost every day with different, people in Georgia. And I've been working heavily with on a nonpartisan effort with black motorcyclists, black bikers. And I mean, these are bikers who are in clubs, a lot of them like the quote unquote 99% clubs like Buffalo Soldiers, folk of that ilk, independent riders, but even the clubs that are like, quote unquote outlaw clubs, 1% clubs, man, people are like dialed in. They're like, yeah, Pastor, we got to get this vote out. You know what I mean? People got to vote. And so, I mean, like literally when you start seeing like, communities like that are saying that they've got to talk to young people who look up to them about the importance of voting on January the 5th, I keep saying this is going to be you're right. I mean, so I'm not surprised that it's a record number to start with. The numbers are going to probably come in much like, just like a regular election. That's how high it's going to be. And that's on both sides. I mean, there is energy on both sides. I continue to think, though, that, and so this is interesting. Glad you brought this up, that the Republicans are trying to win in an environment where they are currently in a civil war. So not only have they lost the presidency and they lost Georgia, right? That's in their mind right now. That Trump didn't
lost
beat
the South. That's deep South too.
Bruh, I mean, come on, man. When a guy who like goes out spouting all kind of racist stuff like him can't win Georgia, what is this world coming to, right? And so, so they lost Georgia in the presidential, and that's in their mind. But so a story came out yesterday that Donald Trump sent an email, his campaign, to all of his supporters, asking one question: should Donald Trump run again in 2024? Now, he can only run again in 2024 if he acknowledges he lost in 2020.
Right.
Let's just throw logic out for a moment. Who cares about that? Come back to that another time. So after he asked the question, should he run again, then he said there's a link to give money to the Senate race in Georgia. But it has come out now that of every dollar given, 75 cents goes to Trump's PAC. I think it's like Save America or something like that. And then 25% does not go directly to either Loeffler or Purdue. It goes to the RNC, which you and I know this, it may or may not get to them. They may make a calculation like, well, if it doesn't look like they're going to win it, they're not going to throw money away like that, right? Right. They'll hold it for another day. So he's raising money for himself in the name of helping these candidates. This is why I said that they are in such disarray right now that I find it very difficult to believe that with these razor thin margins and the Democrats already feeling the wind behind their back, that the Republicans can keep both of those seats. They may get one, but I don't see how they keep both of them.
Well, they only need one though.
They do only need one, but you know, I think they're going to get. I think the Democrats get both, but yeah, I think and Loeffler is vulnerable. They're both vulnerable. You know, Perdue didn't show up to his debate with Ossoff. He had enough.
He didn't think he had to. He didn't think he had to.
No, bro. He look, Ossoff put those hands on him in that first debate. He touched him up. He was like, hey, he said, you knew about COVID. You told us it was all good, and yet you were like making money in the stock market off of the vaccine. He put those hands. Perdue said, I don't want no. He was like Nate Robinson. He said, no, I don't want no more of that. Night, Nate. Perdue didn't show up to his debate.
I know.
Jeez. Woo.
Oh, well.
Oh man, it's going to be interesting. But speaking of Georgia, so Georgia HBCUs all reported yesterday. Well, the three in Atlanta all reported 8-figure gifts. Morehouse, Spelman, Clark Atlanta, my alma mater. Clark Atlanta got 15 million. Howard University got 40 million. Hampton, 30 million. Tuskegee, that's Tuskegee, reported 20 million. Xavier in New Orleans received 20 million. Also, Lincoln University here locally, 20 million. Morgan State in Baltimore, my son attended, 40 million. Prairie View, little Prairie View, cleaned up. They got 50 million.
Wow.
In places like Prairie View, a lot of these schools, Prairie View reported that doubled their endowment. Because HBCUs have, and this is money that's like no strings attached. Claflin got money, Virginia State, Dillard, Delaware State also in our region here. Other groups like the local chapters of NAACP around the country, Goodwill, YMCA, the United Way, others. As Mackenzie Scott, the former wife of Jeff Bezos, who in their divorce received $38 billion. She's now worth $60 billion because her stock has gone up. She had 25% of his stock options. This has been a good year for Amazon. So if you have questions about whether or not you should buy from Amazon because of Jeff Bezos, buy from Amazon because it also benefits her, which then benefits us. She made a pledge to give away half of her wealth. What's that? Do you know what's the name of that? The pledge that she signed?
Yeah, that's the one. What's his name? Warren Buffett did. Yeah.
The giving pledge, where billionaires agree to give away half of their wealth. So she dropped $4.2 billion yesterday.
Must be nice.
How much did you get?
Nothing. I'm getting ready to make a phone call. I'm like, yo, what?
That's why you got quiet. That's why you got quiet. You were over there like emailing her.
No, I'm like, yo, we ain't get the money. I'm like, we doing the work. We need the money. So I'm gonna make some calls on that one.
But is that it, man? Listen, shout out to her, man. I mean, if your school got any of that money yesterday and you're on Facebook Live, drop that in the chat so we can shout it out. Like I said again, I'm really happy that Clark Atlanta received a gift. Clark Atlanta is doing some great things under the leadership of the new president there, and glad to see Lincoln locally after all they've been through with President Allen being let go, then being brought back. I mean, that's a great story. She was like, yes, we got that check. Tawanda, make it rain in the best possible way. But I mean, we don't have examples like that very often anymore, do we?
No, except what's his name that did the thing for Morehouse and then got indicted. But
oh, yeah. Robert Smith.
Yeah. So
I hope the check cleared.
That was a lot of checks because he was agreeing to pay off everybody's student loans. So yeah, I don't know. Hey, listen, we're also up live on YouTube too. So I see Fee Coleman, Nikki O'Tim is out there, Jean Neves is out there. Fee Coleman said, I went to Morgan State. So thank you for that. We appreciate that.
Right on,
and all y'all that went to HBCUs, I went to a PWI. Wish I went to an HBCU, but I didn't understand it at the time. So,
well, so So my one of my middle children is an online freshman at Howard, and she's been, obviously, just can't wait to get on campus. And I'm like, yes, we can't wait for you either, right? And so, trust me, feelings mutual. We love you, but we want you to get all that experience, right? So, I jest. But anyway, I keep telling her, I said, the one thing you have not yet experienced, my dear, is registration in an HBCU. Because let me tell you, if there was ever a difference in HBCUs and PWIs, bro, it is registration.
All right, well, so tell me about the HBCU registration. Why is that different?
It is a grueling process. Apparently, our fourth parents inserted it as a way to weed out the weak, I believe. I don't understand, but all I know is if you can make it through registration your freshman year at an HBCU, you literally can make it to anything. I'm not surprised Kamala Harris is the first Black woman who is the vice president. I mean, really, our Thurgood Marshall was the first Black Supreme Court justice, because the HBCU puts grit in you. So my first day, so I flew in on a red eye from Oakland from the Bay Area to Atlanta. I get there literally like 6 a.m. The guy and women that I'm staying with, they pick me up from the airport, the Norwood family. So I go back, and he's a member of Flipper Temple AME Church, which is next door to Clark. So he's like, hey, I'm the Sunday school superintendent. You want to go to church? I'm like, sure. So I change clothes. We go to church. So I'm at church like literally hours after I land. And they're also doing registration that day. So I stay after church, and I walk down to the campus to register in this hot wool suit from California in the summer. I go through the registration line and forget one little section number. It's like literally a section number on my classes. And I get to the woman, and she said, oh, you're missing a section number. I flip open the book, write it down, give it back to her. She says, oh, no, you got to go back to the end of the line. I said, excuse me, ma'am, it's there now. Don't come to me again without your stuff being prepared. Go to the end of the line. I'm like, are you serious? Are we kidding? And she sit back like, do I look like I'm playing? Bro, I had been in the line for over an hour. Wow. So I go back to the end of the line and come back through it again. And for the next few years, I never had my stuff that was not right.
Well, that was the lesson they were teaching, right?
But it was like an all-day experience. You go from like this line to that line, and when I see my friends who went to UC Davis or Berkeley, and they're like, oh no, our registration takes like 45 minutes.
Yeah, like I don't remember registration taking that long. That seems kind of rough to me, but yeah. Actually, my parents went with me. My parents went with me when I registered for the first time.
Wait, Sharetta says, yes, attended, okay, I'm not going to start this debate. The first HBCU, Cheney University. All right, here come the Lincoln and Wilberforce people. But anyway, says arena style, financial aid, and registration is not for the weak. Yeah, I'm telling you, bro, you have never seen it? None of your kids went to HBCUs?
Nope.
Yeah, well, again, it is definitely not for the weak. But hopefully some of the folk will take this money from Mackenzie Scott and, maybe they'll put some of that money in registration.
There you go. Hire some more staff to registrar, right?
Oh, man. Have you been following Florida in the underreporting story?
Nope. What you got on that?
Kawesa says the registration process is no joke. She went to HU. Is that right, Kawesa?
That is right.
She went to Hampton.
Yeah, went to Hampton, the real HU.
I like starting trouble. I know all the HBCU touchstones. I already know. I'm just instigating right now. Come on, Howard. Which one is the real HU? So how was your registration?
Oh, it was awful. It was awful. Like long lines. No, you're right. It's not for the weak. It's not, because they will, and you'll stand in that line for hours, yeah. And then you get to the front, and they're like, oh, you don't have this. Excuse me? Mm-hmm. Oh no, but I'm gonna have this before I leave, because we gonna figure this out when I get here. Like, no, you're not turning me away, and that's usually how it ended up. And you got to bring your parents with you. That's the other thing too that I learned, because once your parents get in their face, they start to listen. They don't listen to us.
I was by myself, I was by myself.
That had to be rough. That had to be rough.
Well, Mega says there were lines. That's all I remember. It was like, Dwayne, it was the basketball arena. And so it's just like tables around the whole perimeter and just young people. And you had to go to each one. Then you go to the next one. Each one was over an hour. And then and don't have financial. Oh, here's the worst part about financial aid. If your money wasn't right, they send you to a little room, but the room had about 30 people in there in line. And they loud talk you. Am I kidding? Would they not put your business out there?
They would, and they would make sure that everybody in the room knew that your money wasn't right.
Yes.
They would put you on blast. Did everybody have the little room? Did everybody have that?
Man, listen, I was in that room my last year. So, true story, on my way, I left Oakland. Everything is good. Our house, thank God nobody was injured, but our home that I grew up in burned down between me leaving and by the time I got to Atlanta. Remember, this is like I went to Alabama first and had to rent a car to get to Atlanta. Our house burned down. So I'm like, oh, man, so everything is in disarray. We don't know. I mean, we got insurance, but, when your house burns down, you got to, assemble your resources. So I'm in the room, and I'm talking to the guy. I'm like, it's my senior year. Man, I was the SGA president last year. I've done all these recruiting things for Clark. Can I just can you just make an exception? And he says, so your house burned down. What they got to do with us? We need our money. Look, if you could have seen the fear in the room, because everyone was like, oh my God, if they're not letting Mark in, there's no hope for me. I got in, thank God. But I'm telling you, HBCUs is something everybody should do at least a semester. It will make you appreciate whatever you have. We got to take a break. We're up on it at 6:41. The snow is on the way. And when we come back, we got to talk a little bit at least about Washington, D.C. And I did promise to tell you about the quote-unquote world's largest afro. I don't believe it. I'm going to send you a picture of it real quick, Royster. Okay. And I'm going to post it in the thread as well. You all tell me if this is the biggest afro you've ever seen. I think Guinness is on Guinness. We'll be right back.
Last year, the Pennsylvania Lottery contributed over $1.2 billion to programs that benefit older Pennsylvanians. Programs like senior centers and hot meals, long-term living services and home care, property tax and rent rebates, transit rides, and much more. To learn more, visit PALottery.com and check out the interactive map to see how the Pennsylvania Lottery benefits older residents in your county. Players must be 18 or older. Please play responsibly.
Family caregiving can be rewarding and challenging. Family and friends are the backbones of America's care system for older Americans and loved ones to live at home. African American family caregivers care for a loved one for an average of 5 years and help with medical and nursing tasks for over 30 hours a week. But now caregiving may be harder than ever. AARP has information and online communities of other caregivers. Learn more at aarp.org/caregiving.
Did you know you can catch the flu and COVID-19 at the same time or even back to back? Don't risk catching the flu during the COVID-19 pandemic. The flu shot is a safe and effective way of reducing your chances of catching the flu or spreading it to others. And the flu shot helps protect you and your community from the worst effects of the flu. Don't say, I should have got my flu shot. Call your doctor or visit your pharmacist and get your flu shot today.
Tune in this Saturday at 10 a.m. for the Educational Pulse with the School District of Philadelphia with host Dr. William Haidt.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Staples Stores. We have volume building a bit out there. Southbound 95 this morning. Cotman down through Bridge, a little slow through the construction to get Allegheny through Girard. Northbound, no problems. Westbound Vine Expressway. Lake Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill westbound University through 30th. Some volume through the construction zone picking up a bit. Eastbound side looking good. Still no issues on the PA Turnpike or the Blue Route 476 this morning. 42, 55, 295 in New Jersey. Not too bad yet. Staples helps you save big on ink and toner. Right now, get 30% back at Staples Rewards when you spend $75 on ink or $175 on toner. In-store only. Offer ends 12/26. Restrictions apply. See store or staples.com/30 and rewards for details. Staples. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a word weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Crystal Cly.
Good morning. We have a busy forecast. Today's the day we're tracking that winter storm that's going to move in starting midday. About 2 o'clock and beyond, Philadelphia should start to expect that snow to pick up. It'll at times be heavy to start during the evening commute. Then overnight, there's a flip to ice and then rain even before we flip back to snow at the tail end of this storm come Thursday morning. We'll dry out by the afternoon on Thursday, but when all is said and done, we're talking 3 to 6 inches of snow in the forecast. Thursday afternoon, a high of 35. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Crystal Cly with your most accurate forecast. Count on it.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour with Mark Kelly Tyler and Dwayne Royster. Hey, WURD family, you want to buy black for the holidays? We got you covered. WURD Radio is proud to present our virtual holiday marketplace online. Support local, small, black-owned businesses through the marketplace and purchase your holiday gifts today. Go to wordradio.com/marketplace or wordworks.com/marketplace. So let's get out there and support some small-owned black businesses in Philadelphia and help build our economy and our community. All righty.
Yeah, support local businesses. And, well, better do it before the snow comes today.
So you want to deal with Will's question? Because I can talk about that. I can't talk about that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think so. Will's question on Facebook Live is, speaking of HBCUs, when will student loans be excused? He's referencing the Lift Every Voice and Sing plan put forth by then candidate Biden, now president-elect. And I'll just say this, that it becomes a lot easier if Georgia elects Ossoff and Warnock to the Senate. I mean, it does. And I mean, now they may blow all of their credit in their first 2 years trying to deliver that, but I think that would be worth it. And it's one of those things where it's risky, but unlike healthcare, which they were able to brand as, I don't know, socialist for whatever reason. I don't know why giving healthcare to everybody is socialist, but when you start eliminating student debt, that's not just going to hit Democrats, that's going to hit everybody. And so why Republicans will fight it, because it'll be popular. I've heard that they would try to go up as high as $50,000 in debt for each person as a max, but that's considerable. I mean, that won't wipe out the debt for everyone, but from what I remember reading during the campaign, it would wipe out the debt for like about 75% of people with student loan debt would have all of their debt eliminated, because it's like under 50,000. And so that then creates more spending in the economy. There are a lot of effects that happen as a result of people not spending that $200 to $300 or $400 a month in student loan debt. It also increases their ability to buy other things, to buy homes, because that's off of your, it's off your credit. So I don't know, but I will say this. So if you know people in Atlanta and other parts of Georgia, call and tell them, hey, I want my student loans forgiven. Why don't you get out there and vote for some folk who are going to make that possible?
That's right. There you go.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, so Simone, I'm not knocking Simone's fly afro. It looks good. Simone Williams. I put it in the chat there, but folk are saying the same thing I said. I've seen bigger.
Yeah,
I've seen. Too. Yeah, I'm like, how's this the Guinness Book of? I mean, see, Guinness must not have been doing this during the 70s. I'm glad I see my older sister is on here this morning. And she used to have to comb our hair. She's 11 years older. Now she had a fly afro. She did. Her fro was like super bad. She like Cleopatra Jones or somebody. And my mom had a super bad afro. Everybody had an afro. It was the 70s. Don't front. All of us who are bald today had afros in the 70s. If you were a kid. I
did not have an afro. I just want to say that.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, you don't watch The Sopranos? Don't like sports and you didn't have an afro?
Not at all.
All right, man. All right, I'm going to pray for you. You literally didn't have an afro?
No, sir. Did not have it.
What kind of hairstyle did you have in the 70s?
We kept it cut.
Huh? Were you like the only black kids at your school that didn't have afro?
My sister had one, my mother had one, and my father had one. My brother and I did not. My brother had an afro later on when he was rebelling when it was no longer in, but I never had an afro.
So, seriously, you missed the afro phase.
Well, it's not that I missed it. I just never had one.
Well, you should be happy because let me tell you, as a kid, it was not fun. Because as a kid, you know, like sometimes, like if, you know, whoever was combing your hair had some anger issues on that day, they were mad at somebody else, it came out on your head. And they were like raking through. But I mean, when I think about afros in the 70s and I see Simone Williams today, I'm like, obviously Guinness has never really seen afros, because if that impresses you, trust me, I could take you to any neighborhood in West Philly, North Philly, East Oakland, Atlanta, New York, up in Harlem, where afros were abundant. So I'm not buying it. That is not the biggest afro ever. Guinness is just late on recording black things.
They're not black. I mean, that's the problem. Right? They would not know. I did not have a shag, Will Mega. I did not. You know, we'll keep cracking these iota jokes, but yeah, no. I did not have a shag. I never had a Jerry curl. I never had anything of the sort.
I had a shag. It was not good. It was not good. I had an older barber. He was like a friend of my mom. And so, you know, I should have been getting my hair cut by the barber's son. But Mr. Bynum cut our hair. So it was his take on a shag. You know, I don't know the name of that like secret like jet plane that we have now, the one that can fly like really high, the B-1 bomber or something, but it's got that inverted tail. Yeah, that's what our hair looked like. Friends were like, "What is that?" I said, "Man, it's a shag." Like, no, it's a slope on the back. But let me just go back to Will for a minute. Since Will didn't like the answer, apparently, that I gave. Well, I won't put words in his mouth. But his question back to us on my explanation of what happens to student loan debt, that it depends on controlling the Senate, the House, and the White House together. He says, so in other words, if the Dems don't win Georgia, they won't deliver? Question mark. Yeah, that's kind of how politics operate. Well, you know that. You're smart. You know this. I don't know why you like messing with us this morning. I mean, how else do you? So what do you do? Like, I mean, you know, do you just like? People say he can do it by executive order. You know,
I don't know about that.
That's what I said.
Well, Sally Mae.
It's a lot of money.
Sally Mae is a federal agent. It's a quasi-federal agency.
Yeah.
But I mean, he would have to do it through. I don't know that he would. He needs legislation to be able to make some of that happen. So
you really do. I mean, to get legislation passed that you want, you have to have, you know, both levers of the Congress. And at least, you know, a split Senate where Kamala Harris cast the deciding vote would make it more likely that that's going to happen. And again, you got to believe, to make progressives happy, they're going to have to deliver on this. So if they win the Senate, this is one that Bernie Sanders is not going to let up on, Elizabeth Warren is not going to let up on, AOC is not going to let up on, and a lot of those other leading progressive voices, nor should they, right? Because this is really something that has become kind of the rallying cry for a new generation that is saying, look, we can't, you know, we know that in the past you have taken out student loans, but y'all don't know what this kind of debt is. Because when I was trying to register, it was like $5,000 for the entire school year. We thought that was debt in '87. But no, I'm talking about, man, when you have a child who can get a $50,000 grant from their school and it's still not enough. Because the balance is 30 or 40,000. That's the schools like Fordham, American. Some of these HBCUs are creeping up to those kind of numbers. Howard, Spelman, Morehouse. And so it's crushing debt when they're coming out with $200,000 or $300,000 in debt from their bachelor's degree. Not alone, not even talking about their master's, that they want to go do a PhD or a law degree or whatever. Oh, it's absolutely crazy. So he's got to do it, but again, he got to have some help. And I'm telling you, we got to pay attention to the Senate race.
Absolutely. We need to win. Need to win. So you're looking at Will's comments.
Not looking at Joe Mega. It's supposed to be two-way talk radio. We're supposed to be able to talk. Oh, did I miss you? Did we miss your call?
No, I don't think he called.
Oh, okay. All
I know
right.
we got other callers.
Well, we're going to take somebody. We got 1 minute left.
Okay, let's take one.
You choose.
Let's see. Let's go to Maurice. Give Maurice 1 minute.
New caller.
Maybe he left already.
Maurice.
I guess he left already. Okay.
All right. All right. Well, we'll be the callers. And so as we get ready to get out of here, I just want to say I hope that our secret weapon, Donald Trump, continues to do well in Georgia. I said it yesterday. He is the Democrats' secret weapon. And my hope is that he doesn't get tired. Donald Trump, start singing that song, I'm Not Tired Yet. I'm a wrecking ball. I'm here to destroy the Republican Party. I'm mad, I'm angry, and I'm going to do everything I can to make you all lose, and so that I can continue to keep control over you. I mean, isn't it interesting that, so Mitch McConnell has come out and said, yes, Biden has won. Kevin McCarthy, the leader of the House Republicans, refuses to acknowledge it because he's still afraid of Donald Trump. Man, let me tell you, the Republicans got hell to pay in these next 2 to 4 years. And again, as I said yesterday, and I will say it continually for the next couple of years, you have no one to blame but yourself. You are rightfully now getting what you deserve. This man owns you, and there's nothing you can do about it, and nobody's more happy about it than me. Go, Trump, go. Help Warnock and Ossoff win Georgia. He is our secret weapon. It's a Christmas gift for me. Thank you, Donald.
All right. Well, look, we are out of time. Thank you all for joining us here on the Power Hour. We appreciate you, Cohesive, for everything you do, holding it down. Thank you, Dr. Tyler, all of our folk, both on Facebook and YouTube, that joined us today. We greatly appreciate you checking us out. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to give you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and, of course, our opinions. Listen, go out, change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Stay tuned now for Solomon Jones with Wake Up with Word.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun.